Welcome to the Business and Brews podcast, where our mission is to highlight local businesses in the Triangle area and shed light on different industries. Welcome back to the Business and Brews show. I'm Gevin Vinson.
My name is Ryan Smeltz, and tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Judd, who is the program manager for Pulse FM. Judd.
Correct.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm the program director for Pulse FM, which is 96.9 and 102.5 here in the Triangle area, and Star 92.9, which is a brand new radio station, brand new signal to the market. So if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely worth a listen, which is on 92.9 here throughout basically Western Wake and pretty much Wake County in total. So I am on the air on both stations, and then I run all the day-to-day operations. So every song that you hear on the radio station came through my fingertips into a computer to schedule out all the ideas, work with a great team of people to pull off the promotions and the events and all the crazy things that makes radio fun.
Nice.
Awesome, Judd. Thank you so much for having us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for reaching out. So, Ron, how's it been, man? It's been a whole year since I've seen you, man.
Yeah, right.
See you since last year, man.
Dude, Christmas, New Year's.
Yes.
So what do you guys do? I know you got a little one running around.
Christmas is always big. Yeah, we have a 4-year-old, so Christmas was huge. Yeah, he was all about unwrapping the presents. So. It was like the first year that he actually got it. We actually got creative with the elf on the shelf. So. It was pretty good.
Busy.
How about yourself, Judd? I know you have a 2-month-old.
Yeah. So this is our first Christmas with a baby, which was interesting. With a 1.5-month-old at that point. It was nice for the first time since we've moved down here. Didn't travel back to New York, so didn't have to deal with the snow.
Okay.
We had all of the family came through like right after the birth of our daughter, right. So we had no family in town. So it was just my wife, the baby, and I. We just got to hang out, which was really nice, and just sort of enjoy the holidays, cook a couple good meals, and just sort of relax, which was really nice.
That's always good. Ryan, how about yourself? How was you and Toya's Christmas and New Year's? So everything good?
Yeah, so Christmas we went out to Nash County. I lost at cornhole a couple of times.
While it's a little bit lighter?
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. It was definitely good. So tell me, Gevin, what are we drinking on here?
Tonight we have from White Street Brewing Company, which is in the big town of Youngsville, North Carolina, right down the street.
Yeah.
Our own capital. We're actually drinking White Street Brewing Company's Kolsch, their actual Kolsch style ale. So pretty delicious. Here's to a good show.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers. Little extension there.
There you go.
Guess we could jump right into it. You want to kick it off, Ryan?
Yeah, man.
I like you get the first question of the new year.
The first question of the new year, Judd. I just want to say thanks again because this obviously isn't an opportunity you get every day.
Yeah.
But our focus here, of course, is to spotlight people in different industries. And so that's definitely the value of bringing someone like you on. But I guess I'm curious, one of my favorite questions and things to talk about is how people get started. So tell us a little bit about the origin story, if you will.
So I started as an intern in college. Actually, I think I did my first mini internship my senior year in high school as part of a program we had at the high school I was a part of, but actual full real internship. It was at the promotions department with Entercom Buffalo in Buffalo, New York. Did that for a summer, came back another summer. So I did 3 summer internships in a row, and then finally they hired me to work 3 hours a week at minimum wage. But I got my foot in the door.
That's the important thing.
That was the important part, and that was really sort of the drive I had. Is I was going to keep involved until I got that break, and I got 3 hours a week, and then that stuck around for 6 months, and I picked up doing some weekend fill-in stuff on the air, and then was filling in different shifts like when people needed off basically around the holidays, like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, any day where somebody wanted off, I ended up working because people needed vacation.
Nice.
So I did that for a while until my senior year in college. There was 8 or 9 weeks left in the year. the afternoon drive and music director of the station. I ended up leaving the station, and they let me do it in the interim. So for the last bunch of weeks of my college career, I was driving an hour back and forth to school each day, going to class in the morning, driving home, driving back to Buffalo to do radio in the afternoon. So it was crazy. They ended up hiring me full-time out of that. I was in Buffalo for about 5 years. And 3 years ago, next month, Curtis Media, this company right here, recruited me to come down here and run Pulse FM. So I've been here coming up 3 years. In February, started just as the PD of Pulse. Last year, added on the program director of Star when we launched Star 92.9, and now have become a consultant for a lot of our radio stations across North Carolina. So Curtis Media is a 52-year-old company, which is locally owned and operated. Mr. Curtis, Don Curtis, actually comes into the office every single day, has an office up on the 3rd floor of the building, which is crazy, working for Entercom in Buffalo, which is a huge company. See the owner every day. He comes to meetings. He's got ideas. It's really fun to have that sort of local feel to this big radio industry. And we have radio stations from coast to the mountains and everywhere in between. So it's great to interact and work with people in different markets. So right now I'm consulting with a group of radio stations there in Lenore and Morganton. And going through with the problems that they have, what the challenges that we have here in Raleigh-Durham are very different to what they have in the foothills or up in Boone or up down in New Bern and stuff like that. So it's really fun to get to do radio in lots of different size markets and really sort of live through all of that stuff doing this consultant work too.
That's a lot.
I do a lot.
That's crazy.
I do a lot, but it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
That's a lot. So. First off, I just want to point out, let's unpack that a little bit. So,
yeah.
One thing I definitely want to just point out is, how you were talking about, you picked up that 3-hour shift that was paying minimum wage, and you just were going to keep at it until you actually broke through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just a foot in the door, and, that it just takes a lot of grit and perseverance to go through that, man. I mean,
there's definitely a grind involved, and I think a lot of industries, whether you're a small business starting or just somebody trying to get going on your career, there's definitely a grind involved to get to where you want to be. And I knew I wanted to work and make a living doing radio, and so I just kept making fake recordings of like air shifts to my boss and be like, here's what I sound like, put me on the air. And finally, after doing 3 hours doing whatever sort of station work they wanted, that's when I got that first air shift. And I think it was 2 months between like my first and second shift. But I got one, and then it just kept piling on, and now I do 10 hours on air every single weekday and sometimes on the weekends. So from begging to get a couple hours a month to logging hundreds of hours a week, it's been a growth, but it's been fun.
Good. Definitely glad to hear that. So you mentioned some of the challenges that you face. Like, what are some of the challenges that you face being in the industry?
I think a lot of people, when they think of radio, they think of it as a dying industry, which it's not. Radio reaches 92% of Americans every single week. The car is our obviously number one vehicle of delivery. Until they stop putting AM/FM radios in cars, radio is going to be fine. When you can stream Netflix and do all these crazy things in the car for free, radio might have an issue then, but we're a ways away from that because radio, at least AM/FM radio, is always going to be free. You don't need to use your data plan. You don't need to use the internet. You don't need to pay a subscription. It's there. And I think we get reminded of the importance of radio outside of it just being there to listen to every day when you're in the car. When big news events break or weather things, when the hurricane comes on, we're the people who are in the radio stations every single hour and minute as these things are going on. So the cool part with radio that I don't think a lot of people think of is, while we're there as an entertainment sort of vehicle for 95% of people listening to radio, there's that 5% of people when we are a public service, which is what the whole radio industry and the FCC licenses and all stuff was built around, is that we're a public service. We are there in the times of emergency and times of need. But that's 5% of our time, where 95% of our time is playing music, having fun, and stuff like that. So I think sort of the hard part is getting people to understand that radio is not dying. We're not going anywhere, at least fast. It's just a changing industry. We're going through an evolution. You've seen it. TV's gone through it, but with all the streaming and all the stuff like that, and newspapers have gone through that, going all digital, and we're all figuring those kind of things out. We're podcasting more and more. Your on-demand audio is a huge piece. Being able to be found on streaming, on the Amazon Echo, on the Google Home, having a radio station app, and sort of providing those, outlets for listening are huge, but also showing how we are different than your Spotify, your Pandora, your YouTube. We have local jocks that live here, especially here with Curtis Media being a locally owned company. We live here, we play here, we work here, we eat here, we do all those things here in this market. So we're able to provide that local content that you're not going to get on Pandora. We're able to send you to go see blank concert coming to town, go meet the artist coming to town that you're not going to get on Spotify. We are, yes, Spotify plays music. Yes, Pulse FM plays the same music, but one of us is here locally programmed by a real live breathing human that will also send you to your favorite concert.
I like it. I'm not going to hog up all the questions, Ryan. Go ahead. I know you're itching over there, man.
So Judd, you talked a little bit about weather emergencies, live updates, the music, the fun. Can you tell me a little bit about the different segments, how you decide where to put them, and what kind of goes into that? Yeah.
So when I'm putting on my program director hat for the radio station, we really sort of look at what we're putting out product-wise based on who's going to be consuming it and when. So in the morning, on our morning show, we play more music than a lot of typical morning shows. But we also provide you the news, the weather, the information, the traffic that you need, because that's what you want. So when we're programming, we're picking out segments and different things. It's like, okay, so if I am an average consumer listening to radio, what elements do I need in this time? So in the morning, you're going to want to know weather, traffic, news, some music, some topical stuff. During the day, you might not need so much of that. You more want a companion with music and stuff like that. In the afternoon, you probably don't really care about the weather because the day's dumb, but you definitely still want to know about traffic, and anything that else might screw up your ability to get home and relax. So we think about that, and I really work with a lot of our DJs and stuff, especially on the weekend with some of our part-time people. It's like, okay, so you're on the air at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. What's your listener doing? What are they out there doing? Are they taking the kids to soccer practice? Are they out grocery shopping? Okay, what are they going to be doing tonight? What do you need to tell them? Is it going to rain? So, if they're planning on grilling, but there's going to be storms, you might want to say hey, if you're going out tonight, bring an umbrella. And so really sort of thinking about what your consumer is doing as you track sort of throughout the day and place those segments and those bits and those contests and stuff, where they're going to be. We also look at a lot of data to sort of see when our big peak times are. So from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., that's your typical AM drive peak. And then you have your second peak, which comes in the afternoon, which is about 3:30 to about 5:30. You get sort of the big influxes of listeners. There's somebody listening to radio every single minute, to the station, but you get mass waves of people coming in there. You might average somewhere on Pulse, for example, you might average 50,000 people listening at any given time in the city, where in those peak times you might have 125,000 people listening at in those peaks.
Yeah, well, definitely is. But in mentioning that, in terms of advertising, because that's a big part of radio with the reach and frequency. What type of business would benefit from radio advertising? Does it have to be the larger businesses, or could it be some of the smaller
I think anyone can benefit from radio advertising, from small to big. There's thousands of clients and advertisers who advertise to this market every single week, ranging from the biggest brands to the smallest local businesses. And I think that's what's really cool about radio is we're able to craft, and now this isn't completely my wheelhouse, but I understand enough of it as I'm not on the sales side. But we're able to craft a advertising solution to really work with whatever the business is. And so, if you say I've got X amount of money, what can I do with it? call into the radio station, not necessarily like the request line, but call like our business line, and talk to somebody. You would be surprised on what you're able to afford in radio, and you can spend a lot of money or a little money depending on really what you want. If you say, I want to air a 60-second commercial every day of the week at 7:20 a.m. That's going to cost you a lot of money because it's very specific. If you say, I just want to reach women between the ages of 25 and 34 as many times as I can, there's a good chance that we can take a very sensible budget and get that done for you. So, I look at some of the clients that I hear on the radio station. We've got small local bakeries. We've got, bike shops and bowling alleys to the biggest brands of, alcohol providers and car brands that's, spend huge sums of money. There's people that will spend $50,000 at a radio station in a year on multiple radio stations in the market. So they might come in with a $500,000 budget. And then there's some people that they spend a couple $100 a week. And so it really depends on what you're trying to get, who you're trying to reach. But there's a good chance with whatever you are comfortable spending, our sales department can craft something that will reach who your consumer.
That's awesome. That's awesome, especially since we're trying to cater to the local businesses. That is a huge part of why we actually started this show.
That sounds a lot like what you were talking about before too, like getting the DJs to think about what they're saying and to who and what time of day it is. Like you guys through the advertising piece and even as the program director, you hone in a lot on the target market, and I think that's a skill that a lot of business owners would benefit from.
Yeah.
And me personally, I think it's something that I'm definitely lacking in. So would you have any advice to someone wanting to learn how to hone in on that customer avatar and figure out what it is? Like, what are some things that we could do to improve that skill?
Yeah, I think, when we look at taking Pulse FM, for example, so it's a CHR station, tends to lean female. Now, we will, anybody that wants to listen, more than welcome to listen. But we cater our product to a specific person. So, we look at adults, 18 to 34-year-olds, and then we look at adults basically 25 to 54. So two sort of subsets. Definitely lean female from the ratings and stuff that we get back. It leans about probably 60-40 male-female split, but really sort of knowing, who you're trying to reach to and who you're trying to talk to, that you can curate your content to, or if you're a local business, curate your product to. So I think, one of the hardest parts with radio is, obviously you want to get as many listeners as you can, but trying to be, a station for every single person, you are too diversified. You have to have your thing. That's why when you listen, if you look around our building, so we've got Pulse FM, which is a CHR station, Star, which is a hot AC station, 96.1 BBB, which is a variety hit station. You've got WQDR, which is a huge country station. You've got Kicks, which is an oldie station. So we all have our little niche. We even have La Ley, which is a completely Hispanic station. So you've got all these different niches that sort of, as a whole building, we reach everybody, but not one single station reaches everybody. It's a group effort. So as a local business, how at least I would think of it is, who's your target demo, and really super serve them. You'll get the people on the outside. When I'm programming, I'm making a decision truthfully of what I think like a 35-year-old female will like. There's people who are going to be older, younger, male, female, kids, old people that are going to still like it. But I'm going to super serve this person, and everybody else is welcome to the party.
Yeah, that's a very important piece when you're talking about, especially as a business owner, you have to identify who your ideal customer is, because what you just said there is, I don't just unpack that. You're not going to be everything to everybody. I mean, you really have to identify who your ideal client is and actually start tailoring your actual product or services towards that actual ideal client.
Yeah,
so that's a very great point. Within that, I mean, you're very knowledgeable in this industry. So one of the things I definitely, just to back up a little bit, if I'm a high school or a college student and I'm looking to get into the radio industry, what are some tips or what are some of the things that I need to know in order to
Get involved. Yeah. So I'm going to do a blanket statement and then focus on radio. So I talk to a lot of college campuses and even high school. I love going to talk to college kids. One, because I like to think I'm still close enough in age that I'm a little relatable to them. But my big thing I try to always leave, especially when I go talk to college campuses, is no matter what you want to do, school is super important and is great. Do the best you can in school, but you got to get involved. So if you want to go be a veterinarian, you better join the Vet Tech Club and you better go, get an internship at a veterinarian hospital. If you want to go be in finance, you better be in the business club and you better go to the fake trading things or whatever. You just get involved and do those real day things. And then we back that up with radio. So if you're trying to get into radio, go and call a radio station, get an internship. Go and make a podcast in your bedroom. Because when I got hired, nobody looked at my transcript. They cared that I graduated. They were like, great, graduated, thumbs up, done. No one asked what my GPA was, any of that stuff. They were more interested in the substance that I had. So if you are interested in getting into radio, go and get involved at the student radio station if you're in college, or at a community local nonprofit station. Go make a podcast in your bedroom. Go make fake air checks in your bedroom so that you can have this stuff to send to people and get coaching. You'd be surprised how many people in the radio industry are willing to help, because we recognize when we were in that seat. I get air checks all the time from kids at my old college, because I make sure I get in contact with the management team there every year and pass off my information that just say, send me some of your air stuff from school, and happy to give you a critique. Never going to rip you down, but give you ideas about how you can grow, how you can get better. So just get out there and do whatever you're trying to get into. So if you are in college and you want to go be whatever blank, find whatever real world things you can get involved with to apply what you learn in a classroom or what and really start to get to work on it.
That's some good insight.
I just not only for radio, but just for everything.
Everything.
Yeah, I like how you preface it with "get involved."
Yeah,
because that's definitely a way of saying something that I think a lot of us sitting where we are know, but you kind of put it in a different perspective for everyone.
And it goes back to that grind piece. Yes, you're not going to get paid for an internship. You're going to have to sacrifice some of your social calendar, but you got to put in that work.
Right.
So
definitely. So you talked about, so you said get involved, and you talked a little bit about your community relations and kind of getting the word out there.
Yeah.
What are some other events and other things that you, as the program director, try to touch base with? Yeah,
so we take a sort of multifaceted approach of marketing ourselves. You think radio station, people find us, people listen all the time. We're a giant megaphone, but we also have to promote ourselves. So we do lots of different things, from the contesting and things that we do on the air that gets people to listen, but also going out and doing things. Being on this podcast, one of the things. Maybe we'll find a new listener. Who knows? Who knows? But being involved in different things, whether they be charity things or different things. So Pulse FM does a annual cupcake challenge every year. We invite local bakeries in. They compete for the Triangle's Best Cupcake Award. We bring a couple hundred people in to judge the cupcakes every year. It's a super fun event. Lets us be involved 100%. With the community stuff. So we do things like that. We do concerts. When the hurricane came through 2 years ago, we did the Carolina Cares Hurricane Relief Concert. So we had artists, national recording artists, come in and play this concert. We were able to raise almost $10,000 for hurricane relief, which is awesome. We get involved in little things, with UNC Children's is one of our big sort of charities that we try to partner a lot with. Coming up in this year in April, we're going to be doing a big fundraising sort of push with them to fund a program that will provide easier access to mental health initiatives for young people through like a 1-800 number phone line, and also easier access to care. So we get involved with things like that. We go to Christmas parades. We go to farmers markets. We're going to be in the St. Patrick's Day parade. So we just try to be out in the community and be involved in stuff. Whether it's a charity thing or not. We just try to be out there and be part of the community that we serve. Because at the end of the day, we are not able to operate without being involved and having the community listen to us.
that's a very big piece of it, that community involvement piece. So, are there any interesting stories you can share with us about the end of the radio industry?
Tons of interesting stories.
You can omit names if you need to.
Tons of it. The interesting thing, so in the top 40 thing we do with all the big pop stars, there are great pop stars and there are not great pop stars to deal with. I probably won't necessarily go through the bad pop stars, but there are also some really awesome people. Taylor Swift, one of the nicest people you will ever meet. She is so nice. Ed Sheeran, same thing. I've had incredible opportunities to hang out with celebrities. Like last year, I think maybe it was 2 years ago, went on a trip and hung out at Kelly Clarkson's house. Hung out at her pool, drank beer from her bar, watched a movie in her theater. We have really cool opportunities to do fun things like that. That's definitely a huge perk of the job. I also, celebrity stuff aside, really just like getting out in the community. There's so many cool opportunities where we've got to go to events or go be a part of something, or I get to go be the MC at something and get to be a part of this cool community initiative, and that's a lot of fun. Just to be, feel like you're a part of something and doing good. I'm hosting an event for Wake Med on Wednesday, which is supposed to be really fun, and I'm really excited about this thing. I don't really know exactly what's going to be involved, but they needed an MC. It's like, yeah, I'll come be a part of this cool educational event. Maybe I'll learn something too. So there's so much fun in radio, and that's really sort of always been sort of my idea in this industry and doing this as a career, is I'm going to do this as long as I'm having fun. And right now I'm having a blast. so I'm not going to stop right now.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
So you talked a little bit about like how someone gets started, how they get involved. We've heard a lot about what happens when you're in there. But Judd, you have a lot of experience in this industry. So I guess my question is, if you were giving advice to someone headed into the industry, what advice would you give them in a way of do this and don't do this?
What I would say do is don't be afraid to make mistakes and get involved again, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of no, being told that you can't do something, but also don't be afraid to say yes when opportunities come your way, even if it's not the perfect thing that you thought. Like, when I got offered my first job doing 3 hours a week at minimum wage, not necessarily something I was super eager to jump at. Especially when I was working, going to school an hour south, I was losing money in that transaction, basically, driving an hour each way to make $7 an hour at the time. Wow. I'd make $21, but between driving an SUV, both, an hour each way and having to buy, a meal, I was negative in the money. But it was in the door, and I knew that if I worked hard enough at that, it would pay off into something else. I'd say don't be afraid to take those opportunities to say yes and be a little uncomfortable. I think you grow through being a little, uncomfortable or unsure. I'd say a lot when I talk to college students to not be afraid to fake it till you make it. You might not know everything. You might not be an expert on it, but have the confidence in yourself to be able to say, I got this. I'll figure it out. So, if don't fake being a doctor. If somebody's like, well, we need a doctor, don't fake that. But, fake to somebody be like, oh, do you know how to do this? And it's like, yeah, I've done this a couple times. Yes, I got it. Go watch a YouTube video real quick, run down the hall, watch a YouTube video, how to do something, and then come and do it. Give it a try. So in terms of the don't do's, don't burn bridges, I think is the biggest sort of advice I can give, especially in this industry. And I think a lot of industries are a lot smaller than people really think they are. And if you wrong enough people or you get a bad reputation out about you, it's going to be very hard to come back from that. So don't burn bridges. Don't just not show up to work. Put in 2 weeks notice, follow all the typical norms so that you have a good reputation as you sort of traverse throughout your career.
That's great advice for any industry.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great advice for any industry, yeah. Absolutely. So we touched on this a little bit earlier, like with how people think it's a dying medium, but, of course, it's something that's always in front of us. where do you see the future of radio going? I mean, where do you think the next 10 years is going to look like for your industry?
So I think the biggest thing that's going to change the radio is this on-demand piece. We've even seen, I don't know which car model it is, but there's a car coming up that's coming out in 2020 that's basically going to have DVR for radio, where you're going to be able to pause live radio, rewind it, and stuff like as if you do on your TV now. So I think this sort of on-demand thing through podcasting, through pre-taped things, or being able to really call up radio however you want is going to sort of be our new thing. So while I don't think sort of what we do is going to change all that much in the next 10 years, I think the way in which consumers sample us and listen to radio is what's going to evolve the most. I'm sure there's going to be some changing in the actual product of how things, are delivered, or who's delivering them, how we deliver them. But I think the biggest thing is going to be how the average listener can listen and find radio or content.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Sorry, I had to get off the crystal ball there for a second.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think a lot about Alexa is probably the biggest one. So that's kind of where my head's going. But then Apple iPhones have Siri, you have Google voice command stuff. And with Alexa, granted, I think you have to have a little knowledge. You can actually write skills.
Yep.
And so you can go write a skill for Alexa to play, Pulse FM.
So we have a skill on Alexa, which is this. We as an industry love the smart speaker because for years, radio left the house. Nobody had a clock radio that woke up to radio anymore. Everyone wakes up with the little blinging of their cell phone alarm. So the Alexa, the Google Home, these things brought radio back in the house. So you can go up to your Alexa or Google and say, "Hey Alexa, play the new Pulse FM," and it's going to pull up the web stream. Hey, okay, Google, play the new Pulse FM. It's going to pull up the web stream. So for the first time in a long time, in a lot of surveys we've seen, at-home listening is on the rise, where for a long, long time it's been on the decline.
That's crazy.
While people are like, digital smart speaker is bad for radio. No. Smart speaker is great for radio. We are totally down with the Alexa. We give out Amazon Echoes all the time. We just ordered. I think I just ordered 30 more of them. We're gonna do a giveaway next month with Echoes. With DOTs, we're gonna do a DOT a day giveaway. So we're totally cool with Alexa. We're BFFs. So.
I like that. That's a very good point.
That's crazy to think about, because looking at the way you can stream content these days, and the fact that radio took it and basically just put it very similar to the way TV did with getting their shows on other platforms.
Yep.
That type of exposure and on demand, like you talked about, Judd, but just seeing that kind of curve where it was out of the home and back in the home, I never would have thought about that.
Yeah. My wife is watching, and she just said, "I just turned on the Alexa in our kitchen." By saying that. So
good job.
It works.
That's funny.
That definitely is fun. So, any community events or community involvement events that you enjoy doing that stand out in your head?
Yeah, I think most of them. We were one of my favorite community event we were involved in last year, outside of the Cupcake Challenge, because anytime you can eat 10 cupcakes in a sitting is just an awesome day. But we were really excited to be part of the American Cancer Society's Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk back in October, and that is a amazing event for cancer people who are battling breast cancer, survivors, and for family members who have lost somebody to breast cancer. And so that was just a really cool event and powerful event to be a part of. Nice. I love lending, for lack of a better word, talents to events like that to be a part of something. So that's a great one. We've done a lot of cool stuff with the SPCA of Wake County, and other sort of rescues. Saving Grace we did stuff with last year.
Nice.
To get involved with, I'm an animal lover, so getting involved with different animal charities are fun. But not even so much like a charity thing. we have the opportunity to send local winners and listeners on really cool experiences. So we sent a local couple to Vegas for New Year's Eve to go to the Maroon 5 concert in Las Vegas. And, just getting an email from them, like thanking us and telling us all about it and sending us photos. Like that's part of the, funnest part of my job. It's like, we know this is cool. We get to send you on this fun trip. But to get to see people take advantage and make the best of these, experiences is really cool. So, that's, I think, what really keeps me going through long hours or, crazy things, as the program director. When the radio station breaks, that's my responsibility. So if it's, if it's 2 a.m. and we go off air, I'm up, logging in remotely or driving in the radio station to work with our engineer team to figure out what happened. But those times are always outshined by really cool opportunities where we get to bring in artists to do something. We did a fun thing with 21 Pilots last year. We had 30 winners get to hang out with 21 Pilots. We did a thing with a boy band called Why Don't We, which we had a pizza party with them. So just these fun things where we get to connect these superstars, which are, oftentimes unobtainable to local listeners, is super fun. And I think that will always, top all of the mundane stuff we do, or all of the, sitting in a radio, in the studio for 5 hours going, what am I going to say now? When it's 6:50 and I'm doing my last break, it's like, what can I say that I haven't said in the last 4 hours and 50 minutes? So, all of those sort of times are completely outshined when we get to get involved with the community or get involved with listeners, do stuff with charities. It makes it really special.
That's pretty cool, man. I volunteered at Saving Grace a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then we were over there. I forget what the place was called, but when we went to Durham today with the puppies, and they were doing an event, and that's what it made me think of, all the events and stuff, working, everybody partnering together with the community to kind of make stuff happen.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool, man.
Did the 3 questions? Or you
Absolutely.
3 questions, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think this is our favorite part, the 3 questions we have brewing, part of the episode. Let's see here. First question. What content are you currently consuming?
So I've recently got into, I think, like a lot of Americans, podcasts. Listening to different podcasts, just because there's, where podcasting is different from radio is, radio, while we are super serving a demo, it's still mass appeal. You can find a podcast about the tiniest little, most interesting, super niche thing, which is really, really cool. So, if you are trying to better yourself in a certain thing, you can probably find a podcast about that. So I think, I've definitely been enjoying podcasts, but, I listen to all genres of music, all the radio stations in town, because you continue to learn and get ideas and find out what others are doing and listen to, I've got different friends in the industry across different radio stations around the country. So listen to what they're doing, talking to them. So that's the content, I'm consuming, audio in general.
Definitely.
A little bit of R&D, rip off and repeat.
Exactly. And I should say probably in a healthy dose of reality TV.
Yeah.
Always.
Stay on top of current
events, right? Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay, so Judd, when 2 guys don't storm your door and bring you free beer, what's your drink of choice?
So I am particular to, I like summer shandies in the summer. Big summer shandy guy. And like wheat beers in general. However, like my go-to utility beer, being from Buffalo, which is almost a suburb of Canada. We share a border with Canada. I grew up on Labatt Blue Light, and a lot of the Canadian beers, which they now have at Wegmans, which is great. Yeah. So I think if I had to pick one beer that I could grab a case of and be happy with it, it's going to be Labatt Blue Light.
Yeah. It's good stuff, actually.
Good, nice, crisp lager. You can't beat it.
It's a smooth
beer.
Can't go wrong with that, man. Can't go wrong with that. So. Let's see. My question is, hold on, I have to. It's been a little while, so I have to look.
It's okay.
The right one.
It's okay.
What do you like to do for fun when you're not working?
I like to spend time with my family and go out and do things, and we go on a lot of adventures, whether it's,
Nice.
We haven't traveled yet with the baby, but my wife and I love to go and just go on fun travel things. Go out west or go to Vegas or go back home or go to the beach, whatever, wherever it is we like to go travel and explore. And even now with the baby, it's just, always go out and do something and, go check out a local thing or go do this. Also go to a lot of concerts. That comes with sort of the job, and go get to experience a lot of cool live music. So like to do that for fun. If it's not like an actual thing, I'm also just super cool with sitting on the couch, watching some TV, watching a football game, watching whatever, just sort of decompressing. Yeah. So when we work in this industry, which is so go 24/7 all the time, sometimes the most fun you can have is just relaxing a little. I think there's an A and B for my types of fun. There's the adventure side, and then there's the park it on the couch for a couple hours and watch some Netflix and just hang.
Yeah, I think that's just about everybody.
Yeah, right?
It has those two sides, right?
There's those two sides for me.
And the last question that I know this would technically be before questions.
Okay, well, I lost count. My bad.
We'll just make it up on the fly.
Right.
So if people want to find out more about you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social medias. I think the easiest sort of catch-all way is if you go to the Pulse FM website, which is thenewpulsefm.com. It links to everything. But I think on everything, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I'm at Judd, J-U-D, Pulse FM. I'm verified on a bunch of things, so it's actually me. If you want to follow, expect a lot of food pictures, grilling pictures, and lately dog and baby pictures. So if that's not your content you like to consume, I'm probably not the guy to follow, because you're just going to get a lot of food and dog and baby photos. But I promise I don't post very often. I just post fun things.
Sounds good to me. I'd follow you.
There you go. Yeah, at Judd Pulse FM.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all about that food. So I guess before we do our little outro here, the number one thing I want to do is reach out to our audience.
Yep.
So we do the show every week. Past couple of weeks, holidays, not as much content, but Judd was kind enough to bring us in here and has provided what I believe to be a lot of value. So as our audience watching right now, someone listening to the podcast when it goes live on Wednesdays at 6 a.m., if you've gained any value whatsoever, which I think this was by far one of our best episodes yet, with a ton, just Judd, you brought a ton of valuable information to the table.
Have to rewind a couple times and get some of the info.
Definitely, but if you are listening or watching, whether you're watching the recorded version or live, and this is something that you believe has benefited you or would benefit somebody else, please like and share the podcast, the video. Tell your friends about it, and by all means, give us a 5-star review, because that is what allows us to bring this type of content to other people. And as an entrepreneur myself, and Gevin as a business owner himself, we know that the struggle is real. And I think everything that Judd and our other guests have provided is something that will help those people learn and grow their business so they can get to where they want to be.
Great.
Judd, thank you again so
Thanks
much
for having me.
Thank you
for coming here at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bringing the show into the radio station.
That's right, man. I felt like we jumped from the minor leagues to the big leagues pretty quick.
Right.
Just fancy shiny toys. It's all the same at the end of the day.
Well, awesome. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Business and Brews Show, and we'll see you on the next one.